Would you look at that? It's bedtime already. Welcome to the Waning Interest Podcast. The smallest click on the internet, the pinball brain in your favorite machine. Or if, Mikey and Mouth from the Goonies played a lot of bareback leapfrog. And a few weeks later, I scored it out. We're here. You know what we should do? We should check Rumble to see if everything's cool. Don't you think? Oh, Rumble says we're live. Who is that dude? Can you hear him? Why am I not hearing it on the phone? Yo, dog.
Who is that dude?
Oh, there it is.
Can you hear him?
There it is. Everything sounds fine. That's cool. Isn't that great? Isn't that great? It's awesome. I just wanted to go live because, just to maybe take away some of the audience from JT Follows JC because they got something premiering. And I know Demon Erasers, Brian, he's live right now. So figure there must be all kinds of folks crawling all over the internet looking for live shit. And, in a few years' time, they'll finally find me. All right. Not even 2 minutes in, and we've already used up Lisa. What do we got? We've got maybe Monday might be having a former shit. I was gonna look up which number that was. I can't remember. Was it 115? Whip 115. Daniel Knopf. He's the creator of Carnival. If you remember that show, HBO, 20-something years ago. Didn't mean to rhyme there. Blacklist. He wrote for that. I think he was one of the producers. Bunch of other stuff. He's writing something new now. He's a series that he's really psyched about. Lives in Italy. Show off. I know him from. He was one of the writers that were part of this group that helped. It was a bunch of filmmakers, and they were given a decent budget to make a film. And then they screened the 4 films. I was in one of them, Panopticon. That's where I met Daniel. He oversaw some stuff with other people. Anyway, might be having him on. I think it was 115. I'm not looking it up. You can. Somewhere around there. That was fun, talking about mushrooms. And then one of the funniest parts was a few days after that podcast, he texts me in the morning, "Hey man, guess what? A friend of mine watched the podcast and brought me over some shrooms." And this was when he still lived in Florida. He's like, "You should come to Florida. We should trip." Didn't end up happening because I was waiting for him to go to Italy, and then we'll go. Wow! Imagine tripping in Italy. That's pretty badass. Even the thought. Sweet. Very sweet. Oh, speaking of sweet, another thing. I got this, my buddy Eric, my Chewbacca. He and his wife, Miss Pam. Eric's was bass player at the Lords. He's also in the New Creatures. He and his wife gave me this homemade. It's Miss Pam's former mother-in-law. She makes homemade raspberry wine and just puts it in whatever bottles. They got a bottle of an old Jack Daniels bottle full of this shit, but it's raspberry wine, homemade. I haven't tasted it yet, so I figured I'd do my little taste test right here on the whip. live on, what is it? June 4th, 2026. Am I going to get a copyright violation for that? I think I really, now I'm starting to get a little confidence that I could actually play the harmonica if I tried. It's loud. All right, here we go. A little bit of whine. Absurd yet flaccid. That's fucking dangerous, man. Ooh, I get a little warmth going down the middle of the titties. Ooh, yeah, it's pretty dangerous. Sweet. This would go good in some ice cream. Even more dangerous. Oh, that was one thing. Eric and I were. He was going through some of his old paint cans that he had in the basement, checking for something that we needed, and we opened this one can. Man, woo! It was all of a sudden I wanted a chocolate milkshake because that's exactly what that shit was. Whoa, that stuff. It's like kind of like a creeper weed. I got a little woo, and it's been almost a minute since I took a sip. A sip. $1.50 for a Coke. How about a nickel for a sip? What does it remind me of? Robitussin. That's why it's dangerous. Oh, notice every time I see the screen, I keep thinking that I'm looking at a clip from The Whip from 3 years ago when I used to do it here when I used to do it here in my old bedroom, which is now the mudroom. It's not really muddy, but that's what we call it. It's just a little spot where there's a bunch of stuff like my paint. I wonder if there's a chocolate shake over there on the shelf. Do I have any brown? That's funny. Is it? No. Yes. Pretty sure that's Robitussin that I taste. It's starting to remind me of this. So this woman's still alive and 96 years old. Who makes that stuff? So it brings me back to my buddy Jimmy Schubert, comedian. He used to open for Sam Kinison. Once drove his motorcycle on the stage of the main room at the Comedy Store. Sam got on and they drove off, and then boom, down Sunset Strip, and Sam was screaming at Jimmy to stop because he just wanted him to stop at the door. That was the bit that was supposed to happen because Sam was really scared of motorcycles. That's a funny story that Jimmy tells. Anyway, one of his old bits back in the 90s was talking about was his grandmother or his aunt? I don't know. Something about going to, the premise was something about a holiday dinner. And there she is, making that fucking cake, making her fucking fruit cake, and her fucking pills are falling in there. Everything's going into that batter. A few minutes, hour later, I have to eat the cake. Man, this cake tastes like shit, but my back feels great. I'm trying to carry that. Oh, God, I hate you, StreamYard. Did it again. Look at that. I changed pieces.
Oh, what do you think about that, boy?
It would have been nicer if that had played, right? On the right time as I was finishing my little spewage from before, it would have been so much better, right, Pete?
Oh, what do you think about that blood?
Man, I don't even remember what the hell I was saying now. Oh, it's just like a whip. Oh, there's something. Oh, I was on the mudroom. I know that. Oh, I had to move back here because Ma is back for the summer, and she likes her TV down the hall from the Purple Room office whip headquarters. We're changing language around here, people. You know, the whip headquarters. Just down the hall, she likes her TV kind of loud in her bedroom, and I started to set everything up, and I had the door closed and everything. I'm like, man, I can hear that TV just like it's in the fucking room here. I guess we're going to get some mud. And here we are, back in the planks. And I just actually, speaking of Eric and Miss Pam, and the whine. I just, they had this huge, really nice new bay window put in their living room. And four pieces of the window, not just one big piece of glass, 4 chunks, and very nice. But it wasn't stained or polyed before they put it in. And another one in the kitchen. So I stained and polyed for them, made it look pretty nice. Could have done a little better, but you know, nothing's perfect. But I think it's pretty fucking sharp. I think my work's mostly tight. Mostly. I don't want to be totally perfect, because then the expectations just go through the roof. You got to leave a fuck up here and there. It's kind of like when I was a bowler, and I never, ever bowled like shit on purpose. Never bowled like shit on purpose. But there were times when I was like, I'm trying to think of a famous player that would shoot the lights out like amazing shit, and then a couple weeks later play like he just started in the league. You know, those all or nothing. There were times like that. Like, what just fucking happened? You know, shooting. You know, when you shoot, 260, 140, 250. You know, shit like that. The kind of things that keep your average a little lower than normal. And it's not even on purpose. So I would do shit like that. Shit would happen. And folks were like, you fucking sandbagger. Fucking sandbagger. This is a scratch league. What are you talking about? There's no handicap. What do you mean sandbagger? I don't bowl like shit on purpose. There's just times where I love that. If you're a whip, part of the Waning Interest podcast back, you know that very well. Just take a look. How many, I've done, number-wise, it's 161, but there's a bunch that I did that named them something different, like a Thursday Live like this. So there's got to be 180 or something like that. Isn't it enough? I think so. So with all those, you can tell, what the fuck is going on here? Remember what I said, pinball brain? Really taking a liking to this wine, Miss Pam. They got bottles and bottles of it, because apparently that's what she gives the 96-year-old queen. Apparently also has a weed farm. Does she sound like the coolest motherfucker on the planet, doesn't she?
Oh, what do you think about that blood?
Miss Pam said that, and I says, what? And she says, yes. And I says, what? She says, yes. And I said, all right, I believe you. 96 years old, apparently rides a fucking four-wheeler around the property. 96-year-old woman who makes homemade raspberry wine, obviously a Prince fan, and grows cannabis. It's a good thing I like older women. In a world where laughter was king. I really want to meet this woman. At least see a picture, you know? Come on. I think we deserve it. She sounds like a super queen. What the fuck? We need more of them. Hey, ladies. Raspberry wine and green thumb. And don't just plant daffodils, plant some cannabis, preferably some Gorilla Glue. And if you can get your hands on some Durban fucking poison.
Oh, what do you think about that, boy?
When I was in Los Angeles, that was one of my favorite strains. It seemed like every dispensary, and there were a lot in Studio City, California. It seemed like every one that I went into, I didn't go into all of them, but there was that part on Ventura Boulevard back in the day was just, it still probably is referred to as Dispensary Row, because it seemed like at every stoplight there was one on each side of the street right there. And I went to a bunch of them. Why not? You gotta scout your city, man. But anyone I would go into, if they had Durban poison, yeah, I'll take an eighth of that just to see. And that was one of the strains. Never went, fuck is that? Every time it was, oh fuck, Durban poison. Shit's good. But there was other strains where, you go to get it from different places, different growers, like, that ain't Gorilla Glue. What the fuck are you talking about, man? And the purples can fool you. I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. I just know that purple means royalty. And that's why I liked Purple Durple. I don't see Purple Durple around here. What's some other purples? I can't think of them. Some other purple weed strains. I'm waiting. You guys are slow. Yeah, Wayne. Oh, speaking of bowling. Two things. Oh. Yeah, this is, excuse. I realized that there are a few people that, this film, Looking for Liana, that I was in, I think we shot that in 2011, Northern California, near the Hearst Castle. And it was chosen to screen at Cannes in 2012. Jimmy Chen, the director, Chinese kid, super sweet, super tall. I swear he was related to Yao Ming. He's back in China, but when he put it up online back in the day, he put it on Vimeo, and I put it on Vimeo. And it turns out a lot of people have trouble with Vimeo, and I understand. I've had trouble with Vimeo. Nothing against Vimeo. This is starting to sound like a Vimeo commercial. What is with the itch in the nose? Anyway, the fuck was I saying? Oh, people that, I know there's people have trouble with Vimeo, so I'm like, why the fuck is it not on YouTube? I'll put it on YouTube. So I stuck it on here on the Whip page yesterday or the day before. And, that son of a bitch, his numbers are rising faster than a whip. I'm a little insulted. Even though I'm in the film. What the hell? No, it's pretty cool. About what the Flat Earth Dave podcast on this page is at almost 1,200 views, which is pretty good for a whip. For a whip. It's got over, I think it's close to 6,000 views on his page on YouTube. And then it's got another 3,000 or so on his Twitter, because he put it on Twitter too, because it was only an hour. And then I put it on Facebook. I think it's got like 60 something, somewhere around 60 views. That's pretty fucking good for a whip. The video version. I don't even go to Libsyn. I don't even know what the numbers are for the audio only. No clue. I don't think they're that big. That's pretty cool. Anyway, so it's nice to see that if you want to check it out, Looking for Liana, it's right there. I've stuck it up. And the film too on the whip page. But while I was looking for the poster, which I'd never found, I found the screenshot that, or the thumbnail that's on there. It's 4 pictures. I don't even know who. A friend of mine took those pictures. She had the DVD. Who is? I still can't figure out whose hands those are. But it shows, it's like the 4 things in the DVD because it, had the case, had the whole thing. It was neat. But I was looking for the poster because I knew there was in my emails. I knew I had a book because I couldn't find it on my computer. Like, what the fuck happened to the Looking for Liana poster? It's a cool poster. Where did it go? So I never found it, but I found that 4-piece, that little 4-way thing. Ooh, he said 4-way. Anyway, never found the poster. But as I was looking, I found this old video. But should I keep talking about? Well, yeah. We'll come back to Looking for Liana. Obviously, I have to tell some stories now. I've got a few funny stories about Looking for Liana while shooting, and others. There's a bunch of stories. I think I've told them before, but it's been a long time. Anyway, so I'm looking for the poster, and for some reason I'm going. I think it was project stuff, and boom, I come across this one where I don't think I've ever. Yeah. This was, let's see, back in the day. I think this is from 2011. I bowled on Tuesday nights at Pins in Studio City, which is exactly a mile from my old apartment, with my buddy Luke and Kevin and a lady named Kathy. It was just a fun mixed league that Luke and I joined. Originally, it was first just me and him because I was teaching him, and we started doing, Saturdays. Sometimes his wife would be there, Sue, before they were married. He'd meet me at Pins, and I'd show him stuff. That motherfucker went from less than 2 years. He went from a 133 average to a 188 average. When we stopped bowling, we bowled for 2 years, like 2 winter leagues and 1 summer league at Pins, or in this league. And it was just for fun, basically, just to teach him, make him better, because you go, oh, let's meet on Saturdays. But if it's not organized sort of thing, it's going to fucking fall apart and start, well, I got to do this now. I got to do that now because it's Saturday. So I'm like, dude, let's do this. Let's fucking join a fun league right here at Pins. Just a fun mixed league. Have some beers, shoot the shit, hang out, get a couple more teammates, obviously, and just fucking have fun. And at the same time, I'll make sure you're doing what you should be doing. Not that I'm Randy fucking Peterson, even though he was my coach at one time. Randy Peterson he was the color commentator for the PBA for many years, still is off and on. 13 titles. Great fucking bowler. But he was my coach for a bit when I went from cupping the ball to throwing it like you'll see in this video. Which I realized once I found this, I went, oh man, I didn't realize how much I emulate my dad. My dad looks very similar, but when he bowled, he would start with the ball almost right at his face. I always kept it right around my waist. And he had more of my dad his arm would go, his follow through was a little more. I mean, I have a good follow, but I haven't thrown the ball in years. Anyway, so we joined this league. We had a fucking blast for a couple of years. And like I said, he went from a 133 average to 188 when we stopped. And the son of a bitch. One thing that all the years that I bowled, never had a triplicate, which is, a 3-game set, like 3 games in a night of bowling or a tournament. a 3-game set, same score every game, triplicate. I never did that. Luke fucking shot it through 213 triplicate, son of a bitch. It was awesome. I didn't realize. And it might have been that same pair that we're bowling on right there. It was right there in front of the desk. I remember that. And I didn't realize he had shot 213 both games, the first game. I knew they were both over 200, the first 2 games. And because I was the anchor, I bowled last. I was sitting there writing the scores down while people were finishing the 10th frame of the last game. And I'm looking at the scores, and I see Luke 213, 213, and I look up at his score as he's about to bowl. He bowled second. And I'm looking up at his score as he's stepping up on the approach to go, and I'm going, and I look up and I'm putting the numbers together, and I go, wait, dude, wait, you have a chance to shoot fucking triplicate. Just fucking throw the ball, don't try to strike. Just try to, whatever you do, don't strike. You just want 9 in this fucking, in this frame. All you want is 9 pins, that's it. Don't throw a strike, that's all I said. He goes up there and threw the ball kind of shitty, but still threw it right where it needed to go, rolled right into the pocket flush. Luckily, left a 7-pin. Got his 9 pins. And I'm 213. And I went, now, throw that next ball right in the ditch. He did. He picked it right up, rocked over to the ditch, just fucking threw it in the gutter and rolled it. Fucking 213, 213, 213. It was awesome. That was one of the coolest fucking things ever. Again, something I never did. Which is fine. I don't give a flying fuck. I love it when people fucking do good shit. I love it. Anyway, the other thing Luke did, if you can see it, I know it's a little tight. If you can obviously tell that the bowler on the back of my shirt, the image, it's pretty stretched out. Luke was a very creative dude. Very creative dude. He was one of the editors on Jennifer Love Hewitt show back in the day, around this time. I can't remember. It was one of the shows. I think Jamie Kennedy was on that show for a little bit. I don't remember I think it was a Ghost Whisperer, maybe. I think that's what it was. Luke, super creative. I did a couple of projects with him as an actor. He wrote some things that he wrote and directed. First, his thesis for USC film, thesis film for USC, which won him a bunch of awards, called The Professor's Daughter. Very good little film. Very, boy, it really works today. It's like AI taking over. The Professor's Daughter, and this was 2007, I think, yeah. And then we did The Last Hand, which I was in with, it was me and Larry Henkin, Old Joe from Breaking Bad, Mr. Heckles from Friends, Butts from Escape from Alcatraz with Clint Eastwood, his first on-screen role, he told me. So many other things. Larry Hankin's fucking resume is 2 miles long. What else? Oh, Luke. So Luke decides, he's like, all right, so we got to have a team name. I'm like, yeah, man, it's all yours. Whatever you want to do. I don't give a fuck. He's the creative guy. And he goes, how about Manute Bowl? But we spell bowl like bowl, B-O-W-L. Like, sounds good. He's like, I'll redesign the PBA logo, like you see there on my shirt. We all had the shirts, and we all had our last name on the front. My shirt now belongs to Flash Allen, keyboard player of the Lords, and the New Creatures. He said, I told him about that shirt, and he goes, can I have it? And I'm like, of course, Pops. He wore it to one show at Post 197 a couple of years ago. He wore it to the show. I walked in. I'm like, dude, you're wearing the shirt. That's so awesome. That shirt you see right there. But he goes, I'll redesign it. So he did. And I think we spent $50 on our shirts. And he made the colors. I think I was the one that chose the colors. I wanted red and black. And the funny thing was, people would come up to us when we were bowling. Other teams, other people from the other teams in the league, they'd come up and like, "What is Manute Bowl?" Or some people would come up and go, I never even saw the back of your shirt. I just thought you guys were Chicago Bulls fans." Chad Michael Murray joined our league for a little bit with a bunch of his friends. I taught him some things. Him and his buddies. Because people watch me bowl and say, come up and go, "Hey man, can you show me how to do that?" In a world where laughter was king. Aaron, the kid that played Michael Orr in the movie that Sandra Bullock, not The Longest Yard, about the offensive lineman, the black kid that gets adopted by Sandra Bullock. It's based on Michael Orr's story from the Ravens, and he played for somebody else too. He's retired now, and it come out to say that most of that story was bullshit. Anyway, the kid that played him in the movie, Aaron, oh, big dude, sweet kid. If you were in a snack shack, you knew he was up to bowl, because that guy was so big, he would throw the ball and it would literally land halfway down the fucking lane. And you just would hear this thud. And everybody go, Aaron's bowling. And of course the lights would dim because he's so big. He would just, it was almost like an eclipse. Anyway, he bowled in that league with some buddies, and I taught him some things about not throwing it so hard, slowing down a little bit. You can do this. You can do this. Just do I showed him some things. There was one night Taylor Swift came in while we were in league, because we only took up 3/4 of the house. So there was, they'd still, rent out, a chunk of lanes. They'd give us, there'd be a pair that would be open in between all the other folks. They wouldn't stick them right up against them. One time they did, and I went, "Guys, you can't do that, because these people don't know lane courtesy. We're in a league, man. You got to leave that one pair open, closed, and let them be down there. You can't do that." And they learned some, I had to teach them some shit, because a lot of these people that worked at pins, they didn't really know anything about bowling. I've been in bowling centers my whole life, but I grew up in them because my dad had a pro shop, because he was a pro. Like I said, watching this, I was like, "Oh shit, I really emulate my dad." So Luke made these shirts. That was great. Kathy and Kevin had one too. And here's a funny story. A bunch of months later, we've been bowling in this league for a while, and Kevin and I were at Luke's wedding, which was at Luke and Sue's wedding, which was at the Jim Henson Studios, outside the Jim Henson Studios, which used to be a place where they made a lot of music. I can't think of the albums right now. I used to know this shit, but a bunch of albums that were recorded right there. So it was really funny being at a wedding and looking up and seeing this giant fucking Kermit. It's like, like made of metal sticking up. And then was it off of Melrose or La Brea, right there in Hollywood? I can't remember. Anyway, In-N-Out truck, drive up In-N-Out truck was for the food, which was cool. And then the wedding cake, because of Luke and Sue, super creative kids. The wedding cake was Star Wars Hoth with 2 AT-ATs. Super fucking cool. Like, that's a fucking wedding cake. I mean, there was some other stuff on there too. Like, holy this is cool. And it was really cool. But man, it tasted like shit. That's one of the things I remember. And that was the day that I fell off the wagon. I jumped off the wagon after 5 years, almost exactly 5 years of no alcohol. Besides one time, a woman that I was making out with, and I told her I wasn't drinking. She knew I wasn't drinking, and then as a joke, she went and took a fucking sip of her Jack and Coke, and then locked back up with me and dropped it in my mouth. Oh yeah, that's what Jack and Daniels taste like. And I was like, "Hey, lady," and she was the daughter of an old TV person, not Annette Funicello's daughter. It was another daughter of somebody on TV back in the day. I can't remember his fucking name. He played a doctor. He played a doctor. But anyway, yeah, Luke's wedding. That was where I says, you know what? I says I'm gonna have a few beers. It's been a long time, and I paid the fucking price for those beers because I rode home with Kevin and his wife because I'd ridden there with Hankin. Hankin, old Joe from Breaking Bad, the guy that crushes up the RV. Mr. Heckles from Friends, already said that. 2-mile long resume, The Last Hand with me. My Back to the Future is what that little web series was. We did that during the writer's strike of 07, 08 with Luke. It was his creation. I played, my character's name is Trish. Fucking love that. Trish. I think it was finally episode 5 where we finally made a Trish joke. And this prick character says, Trish, huh? Does that name come with a vagina? And then I knock him out with a book. It's pretty cool. The Last Hand, Larry Hankin. Where was I? Oh, Hankin and he came and got me in his yellow Bug, and we jokingly, because we did The Last Hand for Luke, we jokingly went as a couple. So he picks me up, he's wearing a coat, but he's wearing a fucking SpongeBob t-shirt. Fucking hilarious. So we go, but then Larry doesn't hang out, and he's not one of those, and he doesn't drink. So he split early, and I was going to Uber home, but Kevin and his wife says, yeah, we'll unfortunately take that problem off your hand and give you a fucking ride. And it just so happened, as we leave, of course, I've got 3-4 beers in me. And, the cake tasted yucky, so my belly wasn't so full. And we'd eaten so early. Anyway, there was something going on. Traffic was a bitch. We had to pull over off the highway at the Ford Theater so I could piss in the parking lot of the Ford Theater. Otherwise, I was going to piss my pants. And then my place was only from there 2 miles. But because of that traffic, we get back in there. I almost didn't make it into my apartment when I finally got home. Almost pissed my pants twice in the same day. I'm like, man, it was a great day, that wedding. It was fun, blah, 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 man. But I almost peed twice. Oh, and the main part of the story is, while at the wedding, I step away from being a smoker. I don't like to, smoke around people that don't smoke. I don't like to be a pain in the ass, so I go off way away from folks, and I check my phone, and Kathy, our other teammate on Manute Bowl, lovely lady, really good actress, actually. We had her, another Nils Taylor film I did, had Kathy read some parts for a screenplay that was never shot, but we did a read-through with some other actors, and I was like, man, she's fucking good. And she was pretty cute for an older woman, too. Anyway, they threw us, we needed a female because it was a mixed league and we didn't have anybody, and she was looking for a team. Come on over here, lady. And she had a blast bowling with us for a couple of years. But anyway, she wasn't at the wedding. But I go to have a cigarette, and I check my phone back with the fucking flip phones. This is 2010, June 2000. Hey, it's June. Yeah, holy shit, we're almost there. A couple weeks, because I think it was like June 18th or something. It was halfway through June. I check my messages, and there's a message from Kathy. I don't know if you saw the news, but Manute Bol passed away. What a weird time to get that news. At the wedding of the dude that named us Manute Bol and did this shit. And so now I'll finally play the fucking video. And you can see where I got, just know that I don't think I'll ever have any video of my dad because it was so long ago when he quit in '94. I don't think he's picked up a bowling ball since '94 or '95. And there's unfortunately no video of my dad. But this is close enough. But also, same time, some of the voices you'll hear in the background, the yeah twice that you'll hear is Luke. And I think you hear Kathy with a woo woo, and I think you hear Kevin and some other people. But anyway, finally gonna hit play. Whew. Did I tell enough of the story? I think so.
Yeah! Woo! Yeah!
Mashed that shit, boy. I'm trying to remember what the hell ball that was. And that was the purple one that I had that I cannot remember. My buddy Brandon drilled that. My buddy Brandon drilled all my balls. Well, not all of them. PBA legend Dave Wadka, he drilled some of my balls, and this is where the whip gets a little yeah. Drilling balls. I can't even remember that. Because I had three at that point. I think I had three balls. The green one, the purple one, and I can't remember that. And I had my my white dot spare ball, which was like a blue marble. But that was just a spare ball. What the hell was that green one? And the purple. I can't even remember the name of those balls. And I used to remember the names of my balls, but here it is again.
Yeah! Woo! Yeah!
And then, after I find that I find that video, and then I remembered, oh, I don't have the picture. Shit, what's it called? Knock 'em down? I remembered, I know I made a screenshot on my phone, but I didn't put it into, you have to make it into a PDF for fucking StreamYard, so I didn't do all that shit, I forgot. Anyway, it dawned on me, I remembered that you don't usually remember when you do extra work, background work as an actor, unless that's all you do. I only did it a handful of times, and I did this one where, because it was at Pins, they were shooting at Pins, and they knew, because they knew I was real close, and they knew I was a bowler. They called me to be an extra on Modern Family for an episode of Modern Family, one where they were bowling, and they were shooting it at Pins. And anyway, I remembered, oh shit, I did that job. I was in the background there, and I'd already knew Ed O'Neill because he's friends with Ray Boom Boom Mancini, and my ex-girlfriend Kathy, her best friend, is Boom Boom's ex-wife Carmen, and they're still, at least back then, they were still, even though they were exes, they were still great friends and always at the house, man, hanging, blah, blah, blah. Boom Boom, such a sweet dude. Spent Christmas Eve with him, 2011. I think it was the same year as that video. I think it was 2011. Maybe Christmas 2012. Maybe it was 12. No, I think it was 11. Pretty sure. You know what I think? It doesn't fucking matter. It was somewhere around there. But I always talk about Kathy at almost every show that I've done, that we done with the Lords, and almost every show with the New Creatures, because whenever we do a ZZ Top song, because both bands do ZZ Top, Sharp Dressed Man, Tube Snake Boogie, Beer Drinkers and Hellraisers, And I want to add Just Got Paid. But anyway, when we do ZZ Top, when we kick it off, I usually tell the story about how my ex-girlfriend Kathy, who's a jewelry designer, she, one time, I know I've told this on the whip before, it's been a long time though. One time she was on the phone, business-wise, and then she gets off the phone, she goes, "Hey, guess who I was just talking to?" And I says, "I don't know." And she says, "Dusty Hill's wife." And I says, "What?" And she says, "Yeah." And I says, "What?" And she says, "Yeah." I says, "What the fuck for?" And I'm doing my Rodney Rude. I said, "Why were you talking to Dusty Hill's wife? What'd you do for them?" And she said she'd designed their wedding bands years ago, and they want them refurbished. And I said, "That's awesome. Can I talk to Dusty?" She said, "No." They were in Texas. But I thought that was pretty cool because years before that, told this story too, that when I worked at Premier Radio Networks and was one of Phil Hendry's producers at the Premier building, and one night, I didn't know it, but I found out that from Coast to Coast AM producer, he says, "Hey, Wayne, hey." I says, "What?" He said that Billy Gibbons was going to be a guest on Coast to Coast in studio. They were on it. They started at 10 p.m. and we ended at 10 p.m. We were on, we recorded, we're live, and then some places, where the show was syndicated. So not everywhere that it was on, every station it was on it wasn't always live wherever across the country, but we were live 7 to 10 Pacific. Coast to Coast was on 10 to 2 a.m., 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. So they started right after we ended, but they had their own studios. It's all separate stuff. But Tom comes in and says, "Billy Gibbons is going to be a guest on Coast to Coast tonight, and he's here early, but he's also a fan of Phil's. Can he sit in your phone booth? Because I like a little tiny little closet studio with a computer and stuff, and windowed. I could see Phil and the engineer Mark in the next room. I could see them, but I'm in a little booth where I screen phone calls. And can Billy sit in there with you? Because he loves Phil. Blah, blah. Of course. Fucking literally like this. Billy Gibbons. Imagine, instead of Jim, it's Billy Gibbons sitting over my shoulder as I'm fucking doing my job. But I'm not doing a podcast. Kind of, because I'm constantly answering the phone. Phil Hendry Show. Yeah, how long have you been listening to the show? Blah, blah, blah. Because the point, my job was to get people to give to Phil that had no idea that he was doing talking to himself and his character that he was talking to, pissing the listeners off that didn't know, just to get the people that didn't understand, because you didn't want to put people on that were in on the joke. That's not what Phil wanted. He wanted people that were like, who is this guest? Who is this Bobby Dooley? I need, So I had a certain amount of questions I would ask to make sure that it wasn't somebody trying to squeeze through, and because then I'd get in trouble if they squeezed through. Kind of like, when Howard Stern fans get through on regular news shit and start doing the Baba Booey shit. When that happens, then I get the fucking brunt of it. I did my job. I fucking screened that shit. But sometimes they get through. Those chronics, they know, they figure it out. You got to hand it to them. Kind of like the Jays. The organization. Hate them all you want, and I will. But you got to give it to them for their organization and you got to give it to them for a lot of shit that they do. Even though they're demon spawn. Who? The Jays down the street, the Josephs. Right, that's what I mean. In a world where laughter was never king. Sounds like a shitty world, huh? Where were we? What was I talking about? When? Because. Oh, Billy Gibbons. So how cool was it It's one of the reasons I refer to myself as a version of Forrest Gump, but more mentally challenged. And funny on purpose, not on purpose. But to have Billy Gibbons sitting over your shoulder asking you questions, going, "So that's what you got to do. You say that to everybody? Wow, man, dude." And then just talking about Phil and him talking about his favorite moments of Phil, which there were a lot because Phil created back in the day when he was smoking that fucking show. It was one of the best to listen to. Hilarious. Even food. It even fooled the fighters. It even fooled Mark Hamill, that douchebag. He worked with my ex-wife once, and she brought him up because I had worked with him in Miami, and this was 99, 2000-ish, something like that. And Phil had moved back to California in end of 96 to go on KFI because we had gotten sold. WIOD had gotten sold, and the new company took everything but Phil and Passion Phones. So we had to fill in those two slots. Anyway, Mark Hamill used to come to Florida to shoot stand-ups, meaning not stand-up comedy, stand-ups like a hosting for this show. And he'd shoot, a month's worth of shows in one day or a couple of days. And my ex-wife was one of the correspondents of the show. And one time she actually got to meet him, stole a black T-shirt that he wore and gave it to me for Christmas. This is back when when Luke Skywalker was cool. Luke Skywalker still is kind of cool, except for Disney's Luke Skywalker. And Mark Hamill, what a douchebag. What a fucking, ugh. He's gross now. It was, but, at the time, 25 years ago, it was great. And Mark proceeded back then, in 2000, I guess it was. I think it was before my daughter was born. He proceeded to tell my ex-wife the story from a few years before about Phil, when Phil had premiered. He'd first heard him on KFI. He didn't know what the show was. And Phil was doing, I don't know if it was Bobby Dooley or one of his characters was just, nuts. And Phil, well, Phil, yeah. Well, Bobby, I don't know what you're talking about. And, just going back and forth. And it sounds like he's talking to somebody and he's actually talking to himself. And it fooled Mark Hamill. And Mark actually tried to call in, couldn't get through. And then the next day, apparently, he's telling the story to my ex-wife that he went to a studio to do some voice work and went into the guys, and apparently all the people at the studio, they knew who Phil was. And he walked in going, "Have you guys ever listened to this new guy, Phil Hendry, on KFI? Man, I was listening last night, and this fucking guy, somebody was on, and I tried to call it," and they all started laughing at him. And he's like, "What are you laughing? What's so funny?" Phil got you, man. Phil fooled Luke Skywalker. So that made him a fan. And that was cool to hear hear that story way back then. Man, 26 years. Holy shit. So, all these people were fans of Phil. And there's a documentary of Phil. I think it's on Amazon. Phil Hendry with an I-E at the end, not a Y. I don't know why I wasn't part of the documentary. What the fuck, man? I used to tell when they would, the newspapers, I think I was quoted in some column, some article about Phil, because they asked me some questions, being one of his producers. And I said, the dude, this is the second time I've worked with him, and all I've ever said is the dude is the Monty Python of radio. That was my quote in the article. And I think I was correct. I was short and sweet. Right to the fucking point. And the funny thing was, one of the problems with Phil's shows, nobody could figure out how to fucking market it. That was one of his big complaints. And I didn't blame him. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It should be bigger, especially back then. The early 2000s. From the mid 90s to the mid 2000s. Well, because he retired in 06, but came back in 08. But he had a 10-year run where he fucking smoked a giant radio trail. No question. Absolutely no question. And didn't get the doesn't get the well, they made the documentary. What the fuck? He's got enough. He's fine. And you've heard him on well, he was in Team America. He did some voices there. He did some voice. He was the voice of the TV thing in the Duncan Trussell Netflix show, which I can't remember the name of. He did some the other show that Mike Judge did, the one with Hank. He did voices for that. He's done a bunch of shit besides his radio show and some on camera shit. So anyway, back to Billy fucking Gibbons. That's what the F stands for. Do you notice that? He doesn't go by Billy Gibbons now. It's always Billy F. Gibbons. Like when he did the stuff with Slash. We do him and Slash's version of it's what we open every show with. Oh my god, I can't even think of the goddamn song. Hoochie Coochie Man. Which is an old blues song. I can't remember. I can't say the blues guy's name. I'll fuck it up. Was it Howlin' Wolf? No. Hoochie Coochie Man. Look it up. I'm not looking it up. I haven't even gotten to the Twitter scroll. What are we at? 56? I was only going to go an hour, but I guess it's going to have to be 2 now. People just crawling in, bouncing out. Nobody's got anything to say. Come on, man. Come on, man. Let's see what happens here. I'm trying to carry this and see if it works with Mike Devaney. Look at that. It didn't even play the whole... You never heard a fucking thing, did you?
Fucking crazy.
I know. That's what I said. Every goddamn time, dude.
Fucking crazy.
And, gave me the wrong layout again. Isn't it stupid? Isn't it stupid?
Fucking crazy.
That's what I said. Jeez. StreamYard was a pain in the ass before, but what up, man? What up? So where were we? Billy Gibbons. Phil Hendrie. Remember that part. Did I ever tell you Jesus was an anarchist? Not a socialist like people say. He's an anarchist, man. No rulers. I'm so sick and tired of that shit. Nothing against socialism, because I'm not shitting on that part. I'm just, you got to go to the next step. What is it? Libertarian. Yeah, what was that breakdown where people usually go either from the left or the right to libertarian, and then their final destination is anarchist. And you see how they've screwed that up too. And you can mess that up and say anti something, which I ain't. But there's a bunch of folks that are very much so. You can look at that up pretty easily. I think they're the ones that fucking killed them, motherfucker. The ones that say he's boiling in shit. You know who I'm talking about. If you don't, come on, man. Oh, yeah, Eric and Pam Wine. We did that. Did you want to see the bowling again? Earth Shape. That's the other one. Was it Whoops? Was Whoops? The Whoops. Whip 161. Yeah, the last one I did. I mentioned the thing about with the Alan Watts stuff to where, it's all backwards in the eye. But what we forget on a second-to-second, day-to-day basis, but tripping brings you back to it, is that you're always looking in the mirror. You're always looking in the mirror. You're always looking in the mirror. Something that needs to be repeated so much. But the eye part, and then I what was it? Somebody... there was a guy that was on, I was watching an old JT Follows JC, I believe, the guest that he had on, and was saying that the whole thing with his version of flat earth, the way he sees it is like an eye, like, my eye's going this way right at you, but then I tilt my head like that. Oh, there you have it. And then there's like this little dome, an eye, like where the eye going up. So we're looking, if we look up, we're basically like looking in the eye. You know what I'm talking, because of the globe thing, because it made me think of the end of St. Elsewhere, where it turned out the autistic son of one of the doctors, I don't remember if it was William Daniels or the other guy, one of the older doctors. At the end, it's like, oh, what? The whole time, the whole show, he was just looking in a snow globe, which is kind of shaped like an eye. For some reason, I wanted to go more into that because, oh, it must be because of the whole eye thing. I don't have my wallet on me, so I ain't got no cash. But where they put the eye on everything with, but it's an inverted eye. It's a different eye. Yes, you have an eye. The way they want to see, it's almost, it's kind of like the whole playing God thing. If you have a conscience and you've been around long enough, you got enough experience, even though I think we all felt it when we were kids. Yeah, even though when we're alone, there is something watching. And then you have like, even though Thor Love and Thunder was a piece of shit overall, but that whole thing where he's up there where Russell Crowe is and all that stuff, I believe that's something like that is kind of real, but not that visually. Something like it, but not. I don't think they're. I don't know what the fuck. But at all times, like right fucking now, as I'm doing this shit, there is something somewhere that's doing this looking, but not like, oh, and we just saw what you did, man, we're gonna use that against you. Not like that. Those are like, that's something else. That's the folks that try to play God, the poisonous pieces of shit that do all the bad things, the demon stuff. That make stuff up and twist and turn and blah blah blah. So that's why you always want to be good anyway. Like E.T. said. But like for instance, that's what's in my head when I'm by myself, for rehearse with the band, and then you practice on your own, of course, as well. And when I'm alone and I'm singing along the songs, I'm not just I'm actually, I get into it like the band is behind me and I visualize everybody's right around and putting on a show for whoever's quote unquote really watching at all times. And I don't mean Alexa. I don't mean your phone. I mean, that as weird as it sounds, and I would roll my eyes at this fucking 10, 20, not 10, not 20, what is it, 2026? When was I'm like, what, 04-ish was when I was like, oh, whoa, that's when it started. So, 20-ish years. 20-ish, a little over 20 years ago, yeah, I'd be rolling my eyes at the shit that I'm saying right now. For sure. For sure. But I think anybody of a certain age or whatever, I think certain folks, anybody actually, I think you get it. Listen to the way I say it, because, the way I say it is, it's just so matter of fact. So anyway, so what, meaning that when I rehearse on my own, I still try to quote unquote put on a show for the most part, and do it for, always want to do your best when you're doing it. You're not going to be perfect, but get into it, and don't just not blah 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 blah. It's fun, especially after it's just fun. You don't need the weed and a couple of beers. You don't need that. It's still fun even without that. But at a certain point with someone, it's an enhancer, which you just have to control. Man, I need a drink. Do you? Yeah. Oh, you know what? I forgot about the raspberry wine. Ready? For some more absurd yet flaccid. It's like I said, yeah. I'm not shitting on it by saying Robitussin. It's like a Robitussin mixed with some fruit juice that didn't get cut with enough water. You know what I mean? You know, when you were a kid and you'd make the Kool-Aid and you'd put a little, like you were only supposed to use half the packet for a certain amount, but you fuck that, threw the whole thing in and a little extra sugar. It's like that with a dash of Robitussin. I'm not saying anything bad. I'm obviously drinking it. And you're going to pay the fucking price. Where were we? Is it time for a Twitter scroll? Is it time? I think so. Because I'm tired of listening to my voice and I want to put something else up. And is it because I'm farther away from where the base is? Is that the fucking problem? You little shits. Is that why everything's moving a little slower? All right, where's the thing where we share screen? Where is that shit? Where do you do that? How do you do that? Present or invite? Share screen. Share screen. Sharing screen is easiest with 2 monitors. Yeah, well, blow me. Go to the Twitters. And what are we over here? Let's check the screen. Where am I? What the hell's going on? Is it going? Is it moving? It's bumping around. What the hell? There we go. Wow, Wyatt. Jeez. StreamYard. Man, it's 2026. You're pathetic. All right, here we are. We're just on my For You feed. Elon Musk's baby mama, Ashley St. Clair, says she turned down a $40 million bribe with an NDA from Elon to not speak about corruption that she witnessed. She claims Elon's companies, which are building a digital landscape, are dangerous for the future of humanity. I was able to turn that down. This is from Shadow of Ezra. Do you believe her? Let's look at the comments just for fun. Come on. Gee, what is this? 1994 AOL? Holy shit, dude. I just want to read the comments. Let's try it again. And what is she sitting there talking to Gavin fucking Newsom? Oh, look at that. 2 poisonous rats. Let's see, what's this? I'll never trust her. How Hamas thinks heaven will be after they rape it. What? Oh, Jesus. That's Jesus Christ. Hell no, we know how much she loves money over principles. I don't buy it at all. To Elon, being a father means paying bills and calling it parenting. Okay, that's enough of that shit. I wish I hadn't hit that now. What else we got? Teemu, what the fuck? I didn't ask for no Teemu ad. Oh, that's right. I won't pay for premium. I ain't giving them any fucking money. Eat a dick. You're stealing my shit. This vintage German wrench is older than most people reading this and still works better than modern tools. I like it, but I'm starting to get a little turned on the way he's swinging that back and forth. Hey, I get that. That's pretty badass. One of the reasons I like Twitter. What do we got? Albania versus Israel descends into chaos. Little footy? No, that's not footy. That would be Australian rules football. Little football. Whoa, flying sneakers. The entire match was drowned in nonstop booing, making it nearly impossible to play. The whole world hates them now. Hey, look at that. I told you I had my finger on the pulse. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, we're going to have some shit. Uh-oh. Geez, you know what? It's almost like somebody either paid them to do that and everybody knows what's going on. Well, that's looking real. Look at this. I'll bet there's some people behind there and behind these folks, and I know that most of you can probably guess who they might be. Causing shit. I don't even want to watch it. Look at that. Oh, there's no good ending. That's it. I thought they were going to get their asses handed to them. That's bullshit. Fully occupied. Full-blown treason. This is right. See, this is just for me. This isn't even shit that I follow. This is just for me because... Oh, look at that. We need a second American Revolution, says Michael Rechtenwald, Ph.D. Rechtenwald. We must cast off the yoke of a certain whoever. Smoking Jaguar, that's the way they will learn, not mess with random people. Oh, what's going to happen here? Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
I've seen what you got, sir.
Well, you see what I got, right?
Oh, we saw what you got.
Okay.
It's scary.
Yeah, once again.
Just pulled out a gun on us, bro.
Yeah, laugh it up. Laugh it up, fuzzball. The House voted today on a new measure to fuse elements of the Israeli and U.S. militaries, particularly on the cyber weapons front. Section 224, as it's known, is included in the National Defense Authorization Act. Representative Ro Khanna, Democrat, California, introduced an amendment to strip it from, there's more to that, whatever. So I guess we can stop pretending to be a sovereign nation at this point, stop paying taxes, boycott everything, burn it all down. Hey, James Lee, I think he's got a point. You can't fix something that's... You can't fix cancer. You just got to get it out. And you don't cut... Well, we're not going to get into the ivermectin stuff, are we? Nope. Or the THC oil? Nope. You don't want to know about that? You just want to keep doing chemo, which is what really kills people? Whatever. One of the costs of not wanting to employ workers or provide competitive pay. New self-checkout that theft becomes a national crisis as theft surges to $10 billion yearly. I'm thinking it's all on purpose. A lot of stuff. All on purpose. Did I tell you Jesus was an anarchist? I tell you the earth is shaped like an eye. Eye. When you say I, that's an old Phil Hendry thing. Now, when you say I, did I talk about looking for Liana? I mentioned, oh, that's right. I was going to go back to looking for Liana. Oh, tell some stories about shooting that. Like, I'll get that. Oh, yeah, I can't. Now I'm on the wrong page, so I can't tell the other thing. Hey, go on, go to JT Follows JC and tell him he needs to come on the whip. We'd have a great conversation. Because he won't listen to me for some reason. It's amazing what we'd be able to talk about. You go. He's got some great content. I've watched hours of those guys. And every time I'm like, oh, there you go. You're talking about the manna. And then somebody asked and you just went, yeah, boy, if I was there for that. And all the stuff they'll bring up, verses in the Bible and stuff. And they're like, oh, mushy up. You're talking about mushy. You're talking about mushy. Anyway, that's an ad. Ooh, gross. I left it sitting on that. That's disgusting. It's funny how people will believe in Wi-Fi but still think energy, frequency, and vibration are just some mystical nonsense. Yeah. You got to stop that shit. And you know who it is that usually does that stuff? The NPCs/normies. Not picking on you. Just trying to help. You got to get out of that shit. You got to turn off that fucking television. Stop watching regular news. Stop watching slop television. It's one of the reasons why podcasts are much better, much more fun. Or not all podcasts are the same. There's some that are like newsy and do certain things like old NPR shit. Like all those fucking crime things, whatever, that I won't listen to or watch. Try to listen to people just talk about shit and go through stuff like I'm doing right here, scrolling through like, oh, what do you think of this? Oh, what do you think of that? Well, that kind of shit. You're hanging out and you're not doing it like it's some feel like if it's about religious type stuff, if it has a connotation of that, it's not so much of a turnoff as it's not a turnoff like turning on shit that you'll see people from the church and those fake fucks with all the money. You're not a real church if you have a lot of money. You drive around in a nice car as a pastor, you're not a fucking Christian. You're so full of shit. And people keep listening to them and giving them money. And it's really pathetic and it needs to stop. And you know who's behind most of it? Wow, what's this? I didn't post this. The redeemed. Christ is King. Oh, look at that. John 8:44. Now, I'm not some biblical scholar. It's not like that at all. I'm not some thumper who's gonna, whatever. There's pieces that are solid. You can tell. Well, most of it's solid. You go through. It's as long as you know it's all. A lot of it's a mushroom. There's mushroom. The mushroom part, the psychedelic part, not just mushrooms. There's other stuff. DMT. It's in there. It's all in there. The mana. It's so much more fun when you have more fun, more understanding. You get it more, and you don't feel like such. Because you don't want to be one of those when you weren't into this shit. When I wasn't into this stuff as much, and you hear Bible stuff, blah, you just stop. It was a turnoff. But when you understand the really fun aspects, it's all fun, really. But the aspects of the psychedelic part, it makes it so much more like, oh wait, more like watching Breaking Bad rather than some shitty documentary. You know what I mean? I'm trying to find a good thing, a good Criss Cross. Remember Criss Cross? Remember those boys? What the fuck was that? And with K's. I wonder if it was J's behind them. I bet if you looked it up, it was. Funny stuff. It's funny how I'm leaving that on the screen. Didn't mean to. I'm just scrolling through. But yeah, that's how. So on the right, that would be an NPC or a normie, which needs to fucking stop. They need to cut the crap. And it's, it is true. It's in there. Synagogue of Satan. That's what he said. That's the word. Bunch of times, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it twice? Twice, bunch. What's the fucking difference? At this point, once is enough, right? Ben Werman. Oh, yeah. Ben Werman's very much into the stars, the flat earth, figuring out stuff. He's not Flat Earth Dave, but it's a offshoot. Not saying I agree with everything he does. I don't know, but he's got some really cool shit on here. Look at that, huh? What is that saying, huh? What is that saying? Are you starting to think that maybe Manson was right? I mean, about stuff that he would talk about. There's another one. Some more bullshit history. Your history is such bullshit. And even but his story isn't even bullshit because they didn't kill anybody on the LaBianca and the Tate murders. He had nothing to do with that shit. With the murder part. But it's very, if you go super in depth and don't do the mainstream version of the Manson story, which is so much bullshit, kind of like our regular history, or everything else in our history. When you get under that, like everything else, you start to see that the situation back then with that, because of all the people involved with the drugs and the film industry, the music industry, and all the top people that were involved in a whole bunch of stuff that Manson was just on the outskirts of. Could have brought it all down, kind of like today with a certain thing, with a name that starts with an E and ends in an N, and I'm not saying the rest. You know what it is. Nothing's happening over that. But the information's out there. In 1969, if that same sort of, but a different way kind of information got out there, remember, Polanski's involved. See, that's the other thing. Here's an example of that, of what I'm talking about, how the story that you're fed, that we've been fed, we're fed for years, still are, is bullshit. The Tate, let's talk about the Tate house. The victims in that house, victims because of, let's stop sharing, because of Tex Watson, who nobody seems to know. They know Charles, know who Manson is, but who did the actual killing? Oh, who's Tex Watson? I have no idea. Who's Charles Manson? Oh, he's a fucking. You don't even know who did the killing. Tex Watson killed more people in those 2 nights than than Michael Myers did in the first Halloween movie. And there's a whole thing behind that to where he actually used to live in that fucking in that house, the Tate house, before Polanski and Tate lived there. He lived there, so he knew shit. Number one. Number two, Wojtek Frykowski. Oh, and Abigail Folger. Oh, the poor Iris from the Folger family. Oh, they were just innocent victims there. And the hair guy who was Sharon Tate's former boyfriend, also one of the biggest coke dealers in Hollywood at the time. His name was the Candyman. I can't say his name. He cut Steve McQueen's hair. Cut Jim's hair. They weren't innocent victims. It was a drug deal gone bad. Really, really fucking bad drugs. And there's the stuff about the videos that were in the house, stuff that Polanski would tape. All kinds of shit. And that's just a little taste of it. And like I said, Tex Watson actually used to live in that house when somebody else rented it beforehand and dealt drugs out of that house. There's just so much to it. And what's one of the stories is that when the shit went down, before the cops got there, I believe Steve McQueen was one of the people that were making sure the cocaine was out of the dude, the haircut, the hair dude. Why can't I say his name? Why can't I say the Candy Man, the Mushy Man can? I just remembered. I found my old lyrics for my changing Candyman to Mushy Man. The Mushy Man can, when he mixes it to tea, 'cause it can taste like wood. Yeah, that was it. Dude who cut Steve McQueen's hair. Dude who cut Steve McQueen's hair. It's right on the tip of my tongue. Blah, 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 blah. Hairdresser. Jay Sebring. Oh, yeah. He was just Sharon Tate's ex-boyfriend who cut celebrities' hair. Yeah, they always leave out the cocaine part. And Wojtek Frykowski, Abigail Folger, her boyfriend, who was a friend of Polanski's, he wanted to be one of the biggest drug dealers in California, in right there in that spot, and she was funding him. They're so innocent, aren't they? Not saying they deserve what they got. I'm saying you're taught that they were just sitting there, knitting fucking sweaters, baking cakes, and Tex Watson comes in and with the girls and dices them up. That's the story. Oh, really? What about the LaBiancas? Oh, they weren't connected to certain things, and Rosemary wasn't dealing drugs? Apparently she was. And the whole thing, and he was from the grocery stores. He was, what is it? When you're embezzling, I believe, I don't know, stuff, allegedly. All this shit. It's all connected. These people weren't just sitting there making fucking soup and some crazies just walked in and started dicing them up. It's not what it was. Total bullshit. But that's how we were taught, and taught to fear this crazy dude that was never going to get out of fucking prison. What fucking crazy. Watch his interviews. If you understand the stuff that I'm talking about, and then rewatch the interviews that they did, like the Tom Snyder one, where Tom Snyder, if you go back and watch, what a dick. And boy, does he look scared, sweating like a pig, being a total cunt, not really listening to what Charles is saying. Charles is trying to answer his fucking questions, but because Charles is so, he's just too intelligent, You can't take it when a dummy is listening to an intelligent person. They start going, and they start acting like they're the fucking boss, and they're all agitated and act like little twats. Watch that. That's what Tom Snyder does. And they all were taught to do that. Watch the way they just try to poke the bear. Watch the Geraldo one, where the way he tries to poke him, like, to try to get such a fucking cunt. The funny thing is, one of the best ones that did it, the ones that act, one of the top interviews of Manson was done by Ron Reagan Jr., where he was actually sitting there listening to him and going, "Oh, so I see what you're saying. So you're," and he's actually fucking listening. So it's wild to watch all those other ones where they're just poking the bear, being cunts just to be a cunt because, just to keep the story going that, you got to treat this guy like he's the evil. Like, like this, I'm not gonna fucking go kill somebody because this guy tells me to. Charles Watson, Tex Watson did what he did on his own. That's a fact. That's a fucking fact. Did Manson try to help cover it up so he wouldn't take some of the backlash because he'd be connected to it? Yeah, he tried to help cover it up. He wasn't there. It's bullshit. And Linda Kasabian, Miss Innocent that could walk free and then gets caught dealing drugs through the years, all that stuff. Yeah, because she lied. She got her walking papers to lie and say that she was, Miss Innocent. That fucking bitch was stealing way before she even came across Manson, ripping people off, including her ex-husband. She wasn't some innocent going, I can't believe I'm part of this. No, she was part of it going down. She had more part of that than fucking Charles Manson. Fact. Laugh it up if you want. Roll your eyes all you want. If you're doing that, it means you haven't done a lick of fucking homework. And I ain't shitting on you. I used to say the same stuff. I'd roll my eyes way back in the day too. But at this point, what the fuck? Basically take every piece of history. If you weren't there, don't believe a fuck. Yeah, try going back to the David Koresh shit and start seeing stuff if you ever did that. You still one of those that thinks that, they were taking care of. He was crazy. He killed all those kids. No, the government killed those fucking kids and set that building on fire. He didn't fucking do that. Those are facts. All of it is fucking bogus. Actually, there's something I didn't put it on Twitter, but I copied it from Twitter. It was 3 tweets back to back. They were just boom boomers. They were great shit. And what was the one? It was so good. I screenshot it because they all fit, and then put them together. It just looked like, well, they just went back to back to back. Real good stuff. Whoop, wrong way. Boom, boom, boom. What's this one? Imagine spending your whole life becoming an academic expert. Then a random guy online tells you that you're wrong about your own field, and he's right. But you could never admit that, because it would mean admitting that your life was a lie. This is the dilemma of many academics. Finding out that, all they've been doing is regurgitating manure, kind of like the globe earth. They're just regurgitating. Most teachers are regurgitating. They're not, and it's not, it's not, a lot of them, it's not their fault. Most of them don't know that they're regurgitating bullshit and helping make people dumb. It's just through the books. It's kind of like the big pharma shit. And there's a whole bunch of doctors and nurses that have finally gone, this is manure. Let's go back to some more correct natural shit. Notice how copper pipes used to be because of there's frequency and there's stuff in that. No, now it's oil, plastic pipes mostly. I'm not saying copper is perfect, doesn't have its problems, certain things for a certain time, blah, blah, blah. But copper cups, look up the whole thing with having a copper cup, those mugs like folks used to drink their beer out of and stuff. It's because of the copper, the frequency, and it was a heal. There's stuff there. Look it up. Why do people steal copper wire, stuff like that? It's valuable. But they keep a lot of that crap, a lot of the important stuff that should be taught, doesn't. Because of a certain sect that took over our education system a very long time ago. And many folks are waking up to it. It has its painful. I feel like Alan Niven right now. I light stuff and I'm talking while I'm doing it. Alan Niven, who was the original, not the original, Vicky Hamilton was the original manager for Guns N' Roses, but Alan Niven took over after their deal and the whole thing with Appetite and that stuff. He's in the Paradise City video where he's like got a goatee, long hair, older guy, and he's sitting there with Slash. He puts his hat on him at some point during that video. Look up Alan Niven interviews on YouTube. British guy, constantly relighting his cigarillo. Very interesting, fun to listen to. But after a few, it's kind of like everybody else. I've seen so many interviews of his. It's almost like every interview is the same. Almost warped. It's like not everybody's like that. But it reminded me of back at Premier Radio Networks when I worked with Phil Hendry and Coast to Coast AM, Dr. Laura and stuff. One of the other things I would do once in a while was radio tours, which were Eric Smeltzer used to put those together. Eric's funny. He would put those together to where, like, if a band, it was usually musicians, but there were actors that would come in too, but it was almost 75-80% of the time it was musicians promoting either an album or a tour. Like one time I worked with David Crosby. Graham Nash they were supposed to do it together, but apparently they in the same room. But we had to the last second we had to change it up, and Graham Nash was by himself doing some other radio stations in a different studio with somebody else, and I had Crosby because they got into a fight and didn't want to do it together. So we had to split it up at the last second. But anyway, what Eric would do, he would round up all the radio stations across the country that wanted to have a 7 minutes with whoever it was, like with this one, David Crosby or Graham. And there would usually be almost right around 20 stations in a day anyway. We were doing them in blocks of hours. And there was a break in between each one, like a 5-minute break to set up everything else for the next station. But we would hook them up, ISDN. I had them in the studio, like they'd be over right on the other side of me right here. And then I would, I had a list from Eric of all the stations and the times. I'd call the station, boom, patch it in through the board. Guys could hear it through their headphones. So now they're talking to the person and they're recording on their end. We're recording everything. But also the radio station will record on their end. So then the DJ after the interview could take that and then cut it up and just use little pieces, whatever, or play the whole thing later on to whenever they wanted to. But this wasn't live. This is all, I mean, it's live as we were doing it, but it wasn't going out live as we were doing it. So each station would have like 7 minutes or so. And then, yeah, we do know. There was one, for 2 days, one time I worked with Tommy Lee and Josh Todd from Buck Cherry, because they were promoting, was that 07 or 08? The Motley Crue, the Crue Fest. I think it was the first Crue Fest. So it was the three of us in the room. And I think it was either Tommy or Josh's douchebag assistant. That fucking slob douchebag who just kept getting in the way and just constantly going in and out of the room and then bringing in trash. I didn't like that kid. Sorry. I'm sure he's lovely. Awful. Made everything more of a pain. Tommy was cool, and it was cool to go down and during the break, and when we would take more than a 5-minute break and go down, me and Tommy I'd take him downstairs to the smoking section and stand there telling him, dude, my buddy Bobby from high school, He used to throw he used to get personalized crew license plates, and used to always throw them on the stage. I think he had three. I think he went through three. Bobby, crazy. It was cool to. It was cool to tell Tommy that story, although I'm sure he's heard that 75,000 times. But the cooler part was to go back to Bobby and say, "Hey, Bobby, I got to work with Tommy. And I told Tommy about you, you son of a bitch." That was the fun part. The real fun part. Did I tell you Josh was kind of a dick? What? Say who? I know. Have you noticed I haven't used a drop in the longest time? Pretty good, huh? Cheers to discipline. Do it all on your own. You're the babbling dabbler. Like you're going to have a problem fucking running your hole. Shh, that sounded filthy. Of course it did. Where was I? Son of a bitch, where was I? What time is it? Oh, wow. Really? I've actually done almost an hour and 40 minutes. It's going to be a nice breather. Should we have more wine? Why not? You really got to. It's a sippy. It's a sippy thing. I could not imagine chugging that. Wow. And not fucking barfing soon after. Whew. Whew. Beer and raspberry wine. Hey. Is that a band name? Oh, speaking of bands. Wow. It's really tough. That's why it as much fun as it is to be in a band. When you work with highly in demand musicians, you always got to worry about their schedule, and then some, and of course for some reason all these fucking in demand folks and people got to come to me about offering stuff. I'm like, oh, and then it's time for me to make the calls and go, hey, who's available for this date? And of course, always gonna constantly run into shit like, stop being so in demand. Be more not. Be more not. Beer and raspberry wine. Sounds like a band name. Or at least an album name. That was weird. Taking a sip of the beer, my head was still locked into the raspberry wine. So when the beer hit my taste buds, that was funny. Woo! I was expecting, the wine. That was a funny taste. That was hilarious. Hilarious. In my head. What do we got? Oh, we got 20 minutes to kill. You can shut it off anytime you want, you fucking dink. Who wants to watch some more bowling besides Pete, huh? Is this the right one? Son of a bitch. Jesus Christ, StreamYard, you fucking soul.
Oh, what do you think about that boy?
So then watching this, look at that, they're going to do it again. Fuck you. Probably fucked up. Probably not even playing, so I'll start it over. You piece of donkey dick. Oh no, no, on that one I guess you could keep it big. In the picture too. What the hell, dog? What the hell, dog? Now I want to take it off. Switch to something else so it will go big. How do you now I don't even know how to make it big. Oh, that sounded filthy. Let's go to here. that fixes stuff. So then this will do what I don't want it to do.
Yeah!
It actually is better for this video. But I don't know if because I watched this back, I'm like, shit, fucking whole thing got cut off. The first half got cut off. That's Loophole.
Yeah!
I like the little lean in at the end.
Yeah!
I did a little shoulder bump. Okay, one more time. I love that shit.
Only one person on the approach at a time. Only one person on the approach at a time.
That was one of the other things in this league, because the folks that worked at this Pins, because they worked. It was Studio City. It's not a place. It's not a bowling center where, like on Thursday nights, I bowled in Mission Hills, north, up near where the Spawn Ranch, actually not too far from where the Spawn Ranch was. I bowled there on Thursday nights. This was Tuesday nights. Thursday nights I bowled in a money league in Mission Hills, and bowled with Brandon and Richie and the blonde kid, the kid that led off. Was it Todd? Oh, that fucking kid had some great weed. I can't remember his name. We won that league. We won a money league. Brandon had a pro shop. He has now. He's in Washington, state of Washington. He has a pro shop there now too. But he had Up Your Alley at Jewel City, which is east of Burbank. It's kind of like near Eagle Rock, a little south of Pasadena. And then he also had, and then he opened up another pro shop at Corbin Bowl, which was in Sherman Oaks. Or was it Sherman Oaks or the one that starts with a C, just after Sherman Oaks? Sorry about the burpage. Why can't I remember the name of that town? Anyway, Corbin Bowl, you can look it up. San Fernando Valley. He had that. So that's why he drilled my balls. And a lot of people's balls. Luke's balls. Brandon drilled Luke's balls too. That's what gave Luke the extra yeah when he says yeah in this video. Because, Brandon gets in there. He gets in there. He digs in. He doesn't just do the surface. He gets in there and makes sure it's all a good grip. He grips your ball. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, Thursday. So I bowled 2 nights a week. And, this is just a fun league for, to teach Luke and Kevin and Kathy and other people how to bowl and have some beers, just have fun. But the money league where, bowled with, a bunch of people, a bunch of dudes from the PBA, like Dave Wadka, Tim Tripp, Robin Romeo. She's since passed, but she was in the Ladies Pro, PWBA. At the time, it was the LPBA, because they've changed that shit. Bunch of other smoking bowlers. But the funniest part about that league, when we won it, me and Brandon, Richie, and the other kid, when we won that league, we actually made the least amount of money of the top 3 or top 4 teams. Because what they had done, people had, over the years, it was crazy with the money leagues where people started to get sick of too much money going to the top team, especially the top 2. Because you're bowling 33 weeks, $20 a night, which I was paying that in the early 90s, and then it was a little more when we bowled at Mission. I think it was 22. So after a bunch of years of that stuff, and of course people stack their teams and what have you, and it seems a little uneven. So they wanted to break the money down a little better. So what they did was instead, and it was good. So where if you finished in in 10th place, that's still pretty fucking good for a team in a money league with a house full of 190 or better bowlers. There wasn't a lot of hacks. I mean, well, a bunch of hacks. Wasn't a lot of poopy bowlers. It was pretty much most of the best around in the area. So it was better for they changed it to where more, 10th place got more money, started to get more money than it used to, and they would have this thing to where you got more money in the 800 and 300 pots. So through the 33 weeks of a season, say you're on a team and 2 of your guys shot, or there's ladies in the league too, of course, like I said, Rob and Romeo. If 2 of your guys shot a couple of 300s and a couple of 800 series, the whole team got a chunk of money for each one of those. So in the top four, we finished first. We won. We beat everybody. But we made the least amount of money because none of us shot 300. Brandon came close a bunch of times. Richie came close a few times. My closest was early in the season. First frame, left a 10 pin, whiffed it, and then went off the sheet for 279. So I threw 11 in a row, but that was like the closest not even close to being 300 because I didn't even start with a strike. But at the same time, I threw 11 in a row. So that's where I never threw 11 in a row in that season again. I don't even think I threw the first 10 in any game. But Brandon did a bunch of times. And Brandon came close to shooting 800 a bunch of times, but never did it. So because we had no 800s and no 300s, we made less because the team that finished third, which was Dave Wadka's team, Dave had like 5 800s and I don't know, probably 10 or 11 300 games that season. And they had another dude on their team, a lefty, who had a couple of 800s and like 5, 6 300 games. So they finished third, but as a team, they made like a fucking grand more than we did. Fuck. It was hilarious. Like, shit, yeah, we won the league. Great. Nice little trophy, but we didn't even make the most money. That's my life. That's fucking hilarious. I love that story. Because we still won. Anyway, with shots like this.
Yeah!
Buried it. Woo! I'm pretty sure that's the purple ball.
Yeah!
I told you my balls are purple. Can you tell? Watch the way I'm walking. See, my balls are purple. See? Right there. It's real slow. Like, ah, ooh, ah, ee, boom.
Yeah!
Hey, Pete. Hey, Pete, what do you think about that? God damn it. I wish that would time out right. Oh, because it should have gone immediately like this.
Oh, what do you think about that
Notice that even though he's my favorite player, I don't fucking act like that. But there were times back, actually, when I was in my 20s. Holy shit. I fucking broke my toe once. Kicking, because I bowled like shit. You sandbagger. No, that's on purpose. I swear. That's why I kicked my ball bag. Thinking that the bag was empty because I thought all my balls were on the rack. In a world where laughter was king. I thought my bag was empty. I fucking kicked that thing. Well, there was another ball in there and I busted my fucking toe. Did it keep me from bowling? No. That was the end of that night. So I went home limping. I had to bowl the next night. I fucking limped to the line. Luckily, it was my right foot, so I just had a big limp, and I still, boom. Didn't have much of a push away. So what I did was, and that was back when I cupped the ball. So I threw it. If you're a bowler and you ever watch PBA, like Jacob Buttriff, I didn't go to the line like him. Obviously, you saw, but at that time, there was a time in my early 20s where I held the ball and I threw it like him. So I had it cupped and had this. It didn't look like him except for the way he holds the ball and how he cups it. More like Jimmy Keith. Look up Jimmy Keith, but I threw it a lot slower. Keeth. He's passed away, but he won a couple of titles back in the 90s. He was and he won one of the regionals I bowled in Florida. I think it was Lakeland. It was either Lakeland or Spring Hill. I don't know. I bowled in 3 regionals back in the in the early 90s, early to mid, 93ish I think it was. And Jimmy won one of those regionals that I bowled in, and I shouldn't have even been there. Talk about watching some. That's one of the reasons why I switched from cupping it, because I had never bowled. I'd only bowled in a couple of tournaments where it was a 4-game set instead of 3. So the lanes burn, so the lanes burn up a little more from everybody bowling. 8 people or sometimes 10 on a pair. The lane, if it's all right-handers, that oil burns up. So you got to keep adjusting, whatever. And I was pretty much just a league hack, which we get fresh oil right before our league, and then we bowl 3 games. Yeah, the lanes don't really change too much, so that's one reason why you can average really well, especially if you're a good spare shooter. But when you're in a tournament like that, like bowling 4-game blocks, and you're bowling, you could be right on the fresh oil. Like you come in at, I think it was like 8 a.m. We'd start because we bowled 2 4-game blocks, but there were 2 rounds of 2 4-game blocks. So you were either in the first block to where you bowled 4 games, fresh oil, 8 a.m., bowl 4 games, and then there was a second round of folks that would come in, no fresh oil, and they had to bowl on what was already burned up of 4 games. And they had 4 games to go. Or you were in, but then if you were in the first block so they break it up, so there'd be 2 blocks in a day for everybody to qualify. So because it was usually Saturday and Sunday, and the regionals just weekend thing. So if you were in the first block in the first round, in the morning, you would be in the second block in the afternoon. So me cupping it, not throwing it, being able to throw it as hard as Jimmy Keith, being a weakling, and then having to adjust, and I would talk about energy wipe. I could not fucking throw it hard enough, but I was also not smart enough to go more and more left and just throw it a little slower and let it fucking go hang and come. Man, I was embarrassed that first regional. But that's what you do. You go do it, you try it, you see what happens, and you learn. I didn't learn much. That's why I said, fuck this shit. This is tough. Wow, it is fucking tough, man. Especially when them lanes are burnt. But that's why I switched. I got tired of that. I'm like, if I'm gonna do this stuff, I gotta be able to, throw it. I gotta be able to throw the ball more straight. Yeah, I was into swinging it, hooking it, revving it up, but I want to be more, Norm Duke-ish, Walter Ray-ish. Be able to throw it, point it, and that's where Randy Peterson, with a D, came in. He had moved to Florida, and he took over the pro shop at Hollywood Bowl, which is in between Fort Lauderdale and Miami. And I bowled down there in a league, and he'd taken that over, and I was like, dude, I ended up being on his team. And like, oh, by the way, I'm trying to switch from this to this, being behind it, under it, but not cupping the shit out of it. Not like I rolled it up on my arm, and Anyway, like I said, watch, pull up videos of Jimmy Keith, 2 E's, or, Jacob Bottriff, but not the same delivery as you saw. Approach. But man, and still, the money is such a trip. They make the most of their money just being, having, signing. That was the actual only goal I had, was to actually, I don't, I want to sign with Brunswick. I want them to pay me to wear their shirts and help people with shit and throw their balls. That's like the real goal. Like there's no way I ain't never gonna be no fucking Pete Weber. I ain't never gonna be no Walter Ray. There's no way. But just to be able to, oh yeah, I signed with Brunswick, dude. Kind of like a record deal sort of thing in the music industry. Same but different. I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just fucking rambling on until the 2-hour mark. Rambling. Oh, we do. We still haven't. It's always on the list. It was on the list. Was it? No. It's always been on the list of the new creatures to do, but the Waylon version of Ramblin' Man. And we've never actually gotten to it. It's always on the list to do, but we do a few other Waylon songs. Clyde. Are you sure Hank done it this way? The Highwayman with but it's me instead of Willie, Chris, Waylon, and Johnny. Is there another Waylon one that we usually do? But we still haven't gotten to Ramblin' Man. It's always on the list, just never end up doing it. It's hilarious. I think there was one time when Chuck said, between songs, like, "Hey, you want to do Ramblin' Man? We haven't done it." And I went, I think it was a private party. And I'm like, wait, we have never really rehearsed it. I'm kind of scared. No. But I didn't do it like a dick. I was like, yeah, man, I don't know. I'd love to, but we never even rehearsed it. I'm scared. Which is funny because, usually at a show, they want a couple of more after as we're done. They ask for, we're done. We got to pack up. One more. Usually it's 2 more. And there was one show where we had never done, because with the Lords we had done Soul Kitchen many times. So me and Eric and Flash had done it many times. But Chuck and Dan, drummer and guitar player, we'd never rehearsed that. They'd never done the song. But the funny thing is, Flash just started fucking playing it and said, one more song. But Flash starts, we fucking did it like we'd played it a bunch of times. It's hilarious. But then you have others. Man, I used to. There's songs where you're like, I used to fucking nail it every time. There's songs where you get better and better, and there's songs that you do good right away and then start to fade on them. It's funny as fuck. The best part is to notice so you can fix and what have you. Anyway, what are we at? We're almost done. I might, because of all the hours I've paid for fucking StreamYard, got to do this live a little bit more. I might do Saturday. I'm not sure. But might do Monday with a guest. And it'll have to be in the morning because the time difference in Italy, where Dan is, if we do Monday or Tuesday, best time for him is 4 over there. And that's 10 a.m. here. And I'm like, Dan, that's great. I have no problem drinking in the morning. That'll be a lot of fun. All right, so we did the bowling vid, bunch. We did the Titter scroll. I said titter. Twitter scroll. We did that I crossed out. Gee, what? Oh, we didn't get to the Christmas stuff. Yeah, there's a Christmas thing I want to go into. Oh, and the anarchist Jesus thing. There was a whole breakdown. I wanted to go a little further, but I babbled on other stuff. Earth shape. We did that. Looking for Liana. Oh, have fun. It's right here. Right here on the WIP page. Dan, Monday. Yeah, well, man, I got pretty much through everything. And here we are. Again, don't believe a fucking word I say. Look for yourself, which I've forgotten to say on the newer whips. We're all Neo, a.k.a. One. Daddy loves you, and we are out. Messing with my people.